thanks for all the backstories. And I think I have a connection now too, because my first NSF proposal was with a co-PI with Eric to do paleoclimate modeling in the carbon cycle. So I may not be here today. I'll link that. Okay, our next speaker is Jenni Evans. Dr. Evans is the director of the Institute for Cyber Science. She's a professor of meteorology and associate of the Earth and Environmental Systems Institute, the BMS, and an early hire into the Earth System Science Center. She's the president-elect of the American Meteorological Society. She did her undergraduate and graduate work at Monash University. She did stints at the Naval Postgraduate School and CSIRO, and she's been at Penn State since 1992. She's an expert in tropical cyclones, and climate change, and herself an adventurer in climate modeling and science policy. Dr. Evans.
Thanks. So, Warren, I just found out that I have one more thing to thank you for. I came here as a co-hire with the Earth System Science Center that was directed by that old boy. So I've admired Warren ever since I met him in the early 1990s. I was a young faculty member. I was just at Penn State. And so it's a great pleasure to be able to honour him today. So I plan to take somewhat of a different perspective to the speakers who've gone before me. You've heard a lot of amazing things, and I'm sure I'm going to repeat some of them. What can I say? I'm speaker number 10. Let's see. So, Warren was president of the American Meteorological Society in 1994 for its 75th anniversary. I'm lucky enough to be president of the AMS for its 100th anniversary. So it's been a long time between Penn Staters, but we're getting there. I'm also lucky enough to be the fourth woman in 100 years as president of the AMS. So, so we're in an era of immense volumes of data and complexity of models, and we're challenged to have sufficient computing capability to take full advantage of these riches. Warren faced some of those challenges from his NWP work here for his PhD, mentored by Hans Panofsky, who was another earthbreaker or groundbreaker in that field. And then his two-layer climate model when he first went to NCAR, and on through to the community Earth system model that is, we're using in the present day. So his achievements were recognized with the Jewel Charney Medal from the AMS in 2009, jointly with Jerry Neal, who you saw when Tony Pusilaki showed some of those interviews. Warren kept pushing the envelope and dreaming about petaflop computing so that he could do even more. Well, Penn State now has a 0.7 petaflop machine over in ICS, and of course NCAR has many petaflop machine now. So Warren, I guess we need to go to quantum computing because we're there. So each AMS president is asked to reflect on the priorities they see for the field and where the field is going. And these were, when I was asked to run, these were the priorities that I thought we should be thinking about as we go into the second century of the AMS. And bear with me while I talk about them, because I think we're going to, most of you probably already recognize that Warren's been instrumental in all of these different aspects. So I guess I'm catching up. But so the first one's pretty obvious, right? It's the big data, complex models. That's been Warren's career, pushing all of these. And as a community, we're still reaching for that. So I do think that this is something that the next century of the AMS we do need to do. We have these incredible sources of data. We're trying to integrate them in meaningful ways into our models. We're also trying to use data mining, through deep learning, or new methodologies to try and keep pushing back the frontiers of our field. We're also creating new and different opportunities for working across disciplines. And I think, again, this is something that Warren has done throughout his career and something that Eric was inspired to do and asked to do when he came to Penn State. And the institute that I'm directing now, that's a fundamental mandate of that institute among the 5 that are set up in that way across Penn State. Interdisciplinary is the fundamental that we're charged to help nurture. So, thinking about the growth and diversification of that next generation, we've heard many of the speakers today already talk about how if we want to really serve the world, we need to have all sorts of different people contributing to the future of our field and seeing how that interacts with the society we live in and how it interacts with the society we want to be. And so I think that having that as a priority in our field is not just something that's nice, it's something that we have to take on. And when I came here, I was the only woman in our department, and I was on every search committee and every committee. And, you know, that's not great, because you still have the full teaching load and the research, and you better get out and do things in the societies, or people won't know your name and you won't get to advance in the field. And you've heard that today from other people. And it's not only the underrepresented groups who have to take on these challenges. The majority have to as well. And I think Warren and Greg and other people in the room who've worked not only in the minority serving institutions have taken that on and have drawn us all in. And that's in terms of the social context and communication. I think that's also fundamental to what we're trying to do here. Meteorologists, atmospheric scientists, we're a society of communicators. If we're not, we're basically, you know, I mean, what are we doing, right? People care about the weather and the climate because they live in it. We're the scientists that they know the best and criticize the most, but they still know our field, right? So really, these 4 priorities I set all interact with each other and all are in some way just one broader vision of the society. Okay? Warren saw all of this a long time ago, and really that's been the kind of things that he's been focusing his career on. Okay, remember the 1990s? I know some of you were barely born, but many of us remember the 1990s. In the mid-90s, there was this amazing new thing called the internet. Al Gore didn't do it alone. Tim Berners-Lee apparently had something to do with it. Anyway, back then we called it the information superhighway, all right? And Warren looked at this thing and, you know, we were wondering, is it going to change our lives? I mean, is this going to be glorified email? Are we just going to get sold things? You know, what's this thing for? And Warren saw it as a vehicle for changing our science and the way we do our science. And I think everyone in this room would wholeheartedly agree with that now. I mean, it's fundamental to how we move data around and communicate and collaborate. So, again, that was something critical to what we were looking at. So, it's an odd look at a climate model, but thinking about the complexity of climate models and how all the different pieces interact. This is from the Washington Post. So, you know, when I first came here, I got my career grant, and it's meant to be for your research and also to help with your teaching, get your teaching going. And as a assistant professor, I looked at what we were teaching, and I thought, we're not teaching climate modelling. I wasn't a climate modeler, but I thought we should teach climate modelling. And so I got Warren and Claire's book, and it was the Bible I used to create that class. So thank you again, Warren. That assistant professor really needed that textbook to create that class. We have much more able people to teach that class these days, but I thought that was important to do. So a lifetime of Warren's service to science and society was recognized in 2010 with the Charles Hostler Medal that Penn State awarded to him as a distinguished alumnus, and in recognition of his talents both as a scientist and a leader. Also in 2010, Warren was recognized with the National Medal of Science by President Barack Obama. And you can see that the dedication was in deserved recognition of use of global climate models to understand the climate and explain the role of human activities and natural processes in the Earth's climate system, and for his work to support a diverse science and engineering workforce. So both for the science that he helped create and contribute to for his whole career, and for the people he brought into that community. One other thing he did earlier in the 2000s, so right after 9/11, there was a lot of uncertainty and concern among the US community, rightly, and fear about what was happening. And there was a lot of concern about foreign nationals, right? I don't know if all of you remember that, but certainly it was a big deal. Warren was chair of the National Science Board then, and the National Science Board was representing that the US needed all scientists who wanted to contribute, no matter where they were from, no matter where they grew up. And they wrote a paper to that effect. That paper, I found your response to the Nature editorial on that paper, where you felt that they had misrepresented that report and said that we should, that this report wasn't supporting international scientists coming to the US. And Warren very clearly wrote to Nature and said, that's not what the report said. The report said that if international scientists want to come and contribute in the US, we should welcome them. And as an Australian, thank you for that. And as a US citizen and as an Australian citizen. So, okay. So, the AMS Charles Franklin Brooks Award is for outstanding service to the society. Warren was recognized with this in 2007, but they couldn't restrict it to his service to the AMS. They had to acknowledge his service to society, not just to the society. And the citation for that award reads, for decades of service to the AMS and as a representative of the atmospheric science community at the highest level of policymakers. And I can't remember who mentioned Warren being a member of the junior NAACP, but at that time he apparently was campaigning for legislation even back then. And something that I thought was, we've all heard that Warren's advised presidents through the decades, but he also briefed Maggie Thatcher on climate change. I thought that was really cool. Okay, and I'll just wrap up here. Warren has done an incredible job of mentoring the community. He's been recognized for that again and again, and I think we all have a debt to him for how we look already as a community, and hopefully we can take it on, as Jose and others have said, and be that next generation to grow the community